Picture this, a 20-year-old girl, born in the Philippines, a country that, until just 2 years ago, didn't even appear on the world tennis map. Facing her is a 38-year-old veteran with 18 years of professional experience, 3 Grand Slam doubles titles, and a career's worth of tactical know-how. And after more than 3 hours of pure warfare on the hard court at Miami's Hard Rock Stadium, the young woman wins. Again, the same court, the same tournament, the same magical ecosystem that launched her onto the world stage last year. Eala didn't come to Miami to defend points. She came to rewrite history. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to dissect, point by point, minute by minute, one of the most physically demanding and mentally brutal matches Eala has ever played in her career. The final score? 6-7, 6-3, 6-3. Doesn't even tell half the story. We're staying. We're diving into the analysis. And at the end of the video, we're going to ask you for something very simple. Before we dive into the match, we need you to understand the significance of this encounter. It's not just a second-round match at a WTA 1000 event. It's a date with history, with pressure, and with the ranking math that threatens to devour Eala if she doesn't perform at the same level she did exactly 12 months ago. Let's look at the facts. Eala arrived in Miami 2026 with an official ranking of number 29 in the world, her all-time high. But here's the statistic that complicates everything. In the live rankings, the ones that actually matter for tournament entry and measuring current form, the Filipino had dropped to number 50. The reason? The expiration of the 390 points she accumulated during her epic run to the semifinals of the 2025 Miami Open. A year earlier, at this very same tournament, Eala entered as a wildcard, an unknown, and eliminated 3 Grand Slam champions, Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Swiatek. Only Jessica Pegula stopped her run in the semifinals. That tournament was not just a sporting result. It was the big bang of Filipino tennis. It was the moment the world had to learn to pronounce her name. Now, 12 months later, history demands the same. And the first hurdle is named Laura Siegemund. Laura Siegemund, German, 38 years old, world number 53. The second oldest player in the WTA top 60, 18 years older than Eala. And in tennis, that's not just a dry statistic. It's tactical experience accumulated over nearly 2 decades. Siegemund has 2 WTA singles titles, one in Stuttgart in 2017 and another in Bastad in 2016. She reached the quarterfinals at Roland Garros in 2020 and at Wimbledon in 2025. And in doubles, she is a true powerhouse. Winner of the 2016 U.S. Open mixed doubles title, alongside Mate Pavic. The 2020 U.S. Open women's doubles title, alongside Vera Zvonareva. And the 2020 Roland Garros mixed doubles title with Edouard Roger Vasselin. She is also the 2023 WTA Finals doubles champion, a player of immense technical depth, with tactical skills capable of unsettling any opponent. And Eala knew it. Everyone on the tour knows it. Siegemund plays with variations. Forehand chop, driven backhand, impossible angles, slow ball, slice, broken rhythm. She is the antithesis of Eala's flat, powerful game. It was a clash of tennis civilizations, and it lasted over 3 hours. But before we dive into the match analysis, if you like these kinds of videos, there are 3 essential things you need to do. First, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Second, give the video a thumbs up. And third, let me know in the comments what you thought of Eala's victory. The first set is perhaps the most thrilling and painful to analyze, because in the opening stages, Eala played tennis at an absolutely elite level. Aggressive from the very first serve with a powerful forehand, she targeted Siegemund's body to neutralize her varied game. Result, 3-0 in the blink of an eye. 3 consecutive games. A devastating start to the match for a 20-year-old player competing in one of the most important matches of her season. But then came the 4th game. And this is where in-depth analysis makes all the difference. The fourth game lasted more than 10 minutes. A game that became a microcosm of everything Siegemund would do for the rest of the match. Slow down the pace, force errors with variations, place the ball in impossible spots, and make Eala impatient. And it worked. Siegemund won that marathon game, stemmed the bleeding, and from there, the set evened out. What followed was a grueling battle. Siegemund evened the set at 3 games apiece, and the momentum shifted. The German, drawing on her vast experience in high-pressure matches, began to dictate the pace. But Eala didn't give up. In the decisive moments of the final stretch, the Filipino forced Siegemund twice to defend her serve to stay in the set. And Siegemund, with the composure of her 18 years on the tour, held both. Finally, the set went to a tiebreak with the score tied at 6. The tiebreak was a mini horror show. Siegemund took a 5-2 lead, a score that, for many young players, would have meant a complete collapse. But Eala is not like many players. With an admirable comeback, the Filipino player made it 6-5. She was 1 point away from the set. But at that critical moment, Siegemund brought out the experienced player within her. A serve right down the middle at Eala, which pinned her in, leaving her no room to swing. The point went to Siegemund, and then came 2 more, 8-6 in the tiebreak. First set for the German. Let's be honest, Eala had 3 set points during the regular set. She squandered them. And in the tiebreak, she got within 1 point, but couldn't close it out. This tells us something very important about the mental work the Filipino player still needs to do in the most decisive moments. Losing the first set in a tiebreak after having had set points is one of the hardest emotional blows a tennis player can suffer. Some players never recover. The psychological blow leaves them knocked out for hours. That wasn't the case for Alex Eala. The second set began with Siegemund serving and winning the first game. Logical. The German had the momentum, buoyed by the confidence of having come back from 5-2 down in the tiebreak. But in the second game, Eala leveled the score. And in the third, what would make all the difference? The Filipino broke serve, 2-1 for Eala. And here we must pause, because this break was, tactically, the most important moment of the match. Why? Because after losing the first set by relinquishing control at the decisive moments, Eala didn't wait. She didn't play it safe. She didn't opt for the safe game of solidity. She went back to her game. The ace, the powerful forehand, attacking the corners. Eala remembered who she was. And with that early break, the second set became a relatively easy ride. There's no breakdown of additional breakpoints in the set, but the statistical picture is clear. Eala used that lead to manage the rest of the set intelligently, minimized unforced errors, and took the second set 6-3 with authority. One thing to keep in mind about Eala's playing style: she enters the 2026 Miami Open with a 40% success rate on her return games, meaning she wins nearly 4 out of every 10 points when she's not serving. That's an exceptional statistic on the women's tour. And it showed in the second set. She put pressure on Siegemund's serve from the very start, not giving her time to establish the junk ball rhythm that had caused her so much trouble in the first set. The third set is where legends are made, or broken. And this third set against Siegemund was perhaps the most revealing of all in terms of Eala's mental profile as a top-level player. Eala started the third set exactly like the second, going all out. An immediate break of serve to go up 2-0. The message was clear. The Filipina wasn't going to wait. She wasn't going to play it safe. She was going to attack. But Siegemund, who at 38 years old and with 2 decades on the tour never goes into a match resigned to defeat, responded immediately. A break back to make the score 2-1. The third set was going to be a battle. And then came the fourth game, which was perhaps the most important of the set in terms of tactical management. A very long, high-intensity game in which Eala needed 4 break points to finally break Siegemund's serve 4 times. The first, missed. The second, missed. The third, missed. And on the fourth, Eala didn't blink. The ball went in, 3-1. And she then held serve to make it 4-1. That sequence tells us something fundamental about how Eala has evolved as a player. Not long ago, a 20-year-old player missing 3 consecutive breakpoints would have lost her focus, changed her strategy out of frustration, and made a mistake. Eala held her ground. She waited for the 4th opportunity, and she capitalized on it. That level of mental consistency is, arguably, the most significant leap she has made in the past year and a half. With the score at 4-1, the match seemed to be on track. But Siegemund, to her credit, never gave up. She reached the most dramatic moment of the entire match when she was serving at 2-5 to try to stay in the set. Eala had a 0-30 lead, and then both players hit the ball into the net on 2 consecutive points. The Filipino had 2 match points. 2. Siegemund saved both and won the game to make it 3-5. And here comes the final question of the mental analysis. How does Eala react after squandering 2 match points? Serving for the match. No nerves. No break points conceded to Siegemund. Closing out the game and the match. 6-3. Match. A 3-set victory after more than 3 hours of tennis. Let's take the analysis to a more technical level, because this match holds tactical lessons that every tennis fan should know. Key point number 1, the clash of styles. Eala versus Siegemund is a philosophical showdown on the court. Siegemund is a player of extreme variation. She slices her forehand, drives her backhand, and constantly varies the speed of the ball. Her goal is to ensure her opponent never finds the same rhythm twice in a row. Eala, on the other hand, is a flat hitter. She looks for the angle, hits hard and direct, and tries to overpower her opponent with the power and depth of her shots. In the first set, Siegemund won that battle at key moments. In the second and third sets, Eala found the antidote, not to try to neutralize Siegemund's variations, but to ignore them, to reset her mind between points and always return to her pattern. Cross-court forehand, deep backhand, attack to the body. Second key, managing the tiebreak versus managing the sets. Statistical analysis of this match reveals a fascinating paradox. Eala lost the first set and won the next 2. But in the first set, she had 3 set points in regular play and failed to convert them. And she also went up 6-5 in the tiebreak without being able to close it out. In contrast, in the second and third sets, a single early break was enough to build leads she never relinquished. This tells us that Eala is currently a much more solid player when she's in the lead than when she has to close out a match from a tied score. It's a very clear area for improvement, but also an extraordinary strength when she manages to take the lead. Third key, physical endurance. More than 3 hours of play on the hard court in Miami under the Florida sun. 3 sets. A 38-year-old veteran who slowed down every point to wear her opponent down. And Eala never faltered physically at any point in the third set. Her intensity level in the 4th game of the third set, when she needed 4 breakpoints, was the same as in the opening games of the match. That speaks to top-tier physical conditioning that is becoming one of her hallmarks. Fourth key, using ranking pressure as fuel. We mentioned that Eala arrived in Miami facing the threat of losing 390 points accumulated in 2025. For many players, that is a paralyzing burden. For Eala, it seems to be fuel. The same pressure she faced in 2025, when she arrived as a wildcard with nothing to lose, has transformed in 2026 into a different kind of pressure, that of having to justify her position. And, at least in this first match, the response has been unequivocal. To understand the magnitude of what Eala is accomplishing, we need to put it into context using actual data from the WTA Tour. Eala arrived at the 2026 Miami Open with a record of 12 wins and 7 losses so far this season. Among her 2026 victories are wins over Jasmine Paolini, the world number 7, and Coco Gauff, the world number 4. She has reached 1 semifinal and 3 quarterfinals in tournaments of this level. She is not a prospect. She is the real deal. A player ranked in the top 30 who is proving week after week that her 2025 Miami semifinal was no fluke. But what's most impressive about Eala isn't her results. It's the speed of her rise. Exactly 1 year ago, the Filipino player was outside the top 100. Today, she is world number 29. In just 1 year, she has climbed more than 70 spots in the WTA rankings. To put that in perspective, the WTA lists around 1,500 players in its global database. Reaching the top 30 from outside the top 100 in 12 months is a leap that very few players in the history of women's tennis have executed with such consistency. And she hasn't done it by winning minor tournaments or taking advantage of favorable draws. She's done it by taking down the best: Swiatek, Goff, Paolini, Keys. Names that are or have been in the world's top 10 in recent months. Eala doesn't beat the players she should beat based on their ranking. She beats the ones she shouldn't be able to beat. And that's what sets ordinary players apart from extraordinary ones. Laura Siegemund, with all her experience and titles, represented exactly the kind of opponent who can throw a young player off her game. An older player with a different style, capable of managing time and pressure in ways that few 20-year-olds know how to counter. And Eala handled her, imperfectly in the first set, with authority in the next two. The reward for surviving this 3-hour marathon against Siegemund is, arguably, one of the most anticipated matchups in women's tennis in 2026. In the round of 32, Eala could face the winner of the match between world number 3 Iga Swiatek and her Polish compatriot Magda Linette. Swiatek is the favorite to advance, and if she does, we'd get a rematch of the now iconic quarterfinal clash in Miami 2025, in which Eala defeated the Polish player 6-2, 7-5. The tennis world has been waiting months for the rematch, and Miami could give it to us sooner than expected. The situation is different now. Swiatek faces the pressure of not losing to the Filipino player again. Eala comes into the match with the confidence of having already beaten her once, and of having proven, match after match in 2026, that victory was no fluke. But before thinking about Swiatek, we must acknowledge that this match against Siegemund was no walk in the park. It was a test of endurance, character, and adaptability. And Eala passed with flying colors. There's a statistic that perfectly sums up what happened today in Miami. Eala won the last 2 sets by the same score, 6-3, after losing the first. This isn't the first time this has happened in her career. In 2026, Eala has demonstrated the ability to bounce back from setbacks within the same match. And that ability, in high-level tennis, is worth more than any serve or return statistic. How do we assess Eala's match against Siegemund overall? From a technical and mental standpoint, I'd say this is one of the most valuable victories of her career, even if the final result doesn't draw as much attention as her wins against Swiatek or Goff. Why? Because beating Swiatek or Goff as the underdog, with nothing to lose, as the outsider coming from outside the top 100, is one thing. Beating Siegemund while carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, with 390 ranking points on the line, with the German's experience disrupting her rhythm for over 3 hours, and as the favorite who has to justify her ranking position, is an entirely different story. Eala has gone from being a surprise to being a threat. And this victory proves that the leap isn't just in the rankings. It's in her maturity. It's in her ability to endure. In her clarity to find solutions when the match doesn't go according to plan. She lost the first set. She had set points she didn't convert. She had match points she didn't close out in the third set. And yet, she won. That's what sets apart the players who are just passing through the top 30 from those who are going to stay there for years. The coming days in Miami will be a trial by fire of historic proportions. And we are fortunate to be witnessing in real time the building of a career that, 10 years from now, we will remember as one of the most fascinating in women's tennis in recent decades. And that wraps up today's analysis. If you've made it this far, it means you share our passion for real tennis, the kind that's analyzed in depth and doesn't stop at the final score. If you want to support the channel in a very simple way, share this video with someone you think might enjoy it. A tennis-playing friend, a family member who follows the WTA, a sports WhatsApp group, Every share helps us reach more people. And the more people, the more discussion in the comments. And the more discussion in the comments, the better analysis for everyone.